Welcome to Ohio, everybody.
Coming down. Man, these things are humongous. Look at the size of these snowflakes. That's no joke.
Diesel, come on. Oh, you gotta go to the bathroom. Take your time, man. You know, no big deal. It's just peaceful out here.
Hey, we got work to do.
Perfect day to be out working in the new shop, so let's get a fire going and get started. More packages. Every day is Christmas here at Attention Deficit HQ. That's way too long. ADHQ. I like that better. Oh ho ho! We have a sprocket. Take a wild guess on what bike this goes to. I don't know what the heck is in here either. Maybe this isn't mine. Awkward. Sorry, Alexis. Still waiting on a few things for this bike, so we're going to continue to work on stitches today. In the last video I said we were going to try to clean up the chain, but I didn't realize how long that video was going to be. So if you enjoyed the 20-minute video, let me know. Man, there's a bunch of dust on here that doesn't pick up on camera, but it bothers me. So let's go ahead and wipe this thing down. I know, Diesel, get to work. I know, I get it, okay? Shout out to my dad for hooking it up with the grunge brush. I think this will solve our dirty chain issue. So I'm just gonna start out using some WD-40, lubricate the chain, and start going to town with this brush. Definitely gonna want some gloves for this. Just gonna go around and get her all nice and buttered up to start. Oh yeah. Now that she's nice and soaked in, just gonna put this brush on here like so. Oh yeah, this is satisfying. Oh my gosh, the rust is disappearing. That is nuts. You can actually get the underside of the chain too, just by going like this. Time to get some of this oil cleaned up. Oh heck yeah, this is awesome. All right, let's hit it another time. Ow! Ow! Had to break a finger with Tanner. Alright guys, that is plenty clean for me. I am amazed after all of the abuse that this wheel is still true. Alright, it's time to set the proper air pressure. I'm curious to see what's in here. I do not have a rim lock, so we can't go too low. Oh man. New school was out of batteries. Old school it is. There's 20 in there, that's perfect. I do still need to tighten up that nut though. Well guys, that means tires get to come down and it is time for an oil change. If any of you are curious about this motorcycle stand, Diesel, should we drop a link? Yeah, I'll leave a link down below. Shout out to DJ and Laura. It's really affordable and it gets the job done. For different size bikes, it has threads on it, so all you have to do is turn it out if you want to go up, or turn it in to go back down. But I wonder if this thing has a charge. Yeah, it's got enough to turn an LED on. Turn the gas on. Give it some choke. And when is the last time this thing has been ridden? I think it was when Alexis and I took the Grom and this out on Christmas, and this thing had a completely flat tire and she was ripping it. In other words, it's been a long time. Man, it is coming down out here. Actually getting some coverage. Diesel, you want to do the honors? I don't think you can reach, buddy. Oh my gosh! There's a lot of valve noise. Maybe we should take a look at that. Yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and check the valves too. It's been a while. But first things first, let's jack this thing up and get the oil drained out of it. What do you see, Deez? Still a nice golden brown. Probably doesn't have too many hours since I changed the oil last. I've generally been pretty good with oil changes in all of my bikes. That is one thing that I do. Alright, Deez, come on. They're our friends, okay? They're bringing us presents. I don't know what the heck are in these. Don't I say that every time? Boom, we got a chain. And springs? What's that about? Uh-oh. We have another tube that came pre-opened. That's always awesome to see. I guess we'll fill her up first to make sure it holds air. All right, guys, to check the valve clearances, we need to make sure the engine is at top dead center. So let's go ahead and take this cap off so we can get to the flywheel. Next, we're gonna zip this cover off. Oh yeah, drip, drip. Now there's a small notch right here in the front that you need to align with the notch on the cam sprocket right here. I believe this is a 17 millimeter as well. Sure is. It also helps if you remove the spark plug so it doesn't have compression. And that should be top dead center right there. We'll know for sure once we get the valve covers off. Oh yeah, more oil. The top one, we're gonna have to go back to the 1800s and use a regular wrench. But we can go ahead and get a 1/4 inch ratchet on the other side. But I'll go ahead and throw the specs on the screen right now. The clearances are 0.04 to 0.08 for both the intake and exhaust valve. And that is in metric, obviously, which you want to use. It's a Japanese bike. I'll save you the inches for later. But it's just too tight to get the camera in here. So I'm just gonna go ahead, adjust them. And I'm curious to see how far off they'll be, if at all. To adjust the clearance, you need to loosen the lock nut. On this KLX110, the lock nut is a 9 millimeter, pretty random, but after you loosen the lock nut, you can grab onto the thread itself with a pair of needle nose plier to adjust the clearance. Now when using these feeler gauges, the way to tell the clearance is if you just get a little bit of resistance. I'm talking like the feeling of a magnetic pull, just a really slight drag, and that's where you want to be. I'm using the 0.06 gauge, and that's right in the middle, so that's a pretty good place to start. So the intake feels pretty loose. I'm gonna jump up to the next size. This is 0.076. It might be too loose. So this one should not fit. Yep, she fits. So the intake was loose. We're gonna go ahead and tighten it up. Let me make sure this one can't get in the bottom. Yeah, sure enough, that won't fit into the exhaust. Go ahead and crack this loose. I was actually able to tighten that with my thumb. Now the tricky part about this is tightening that lock nut back up once you have adjusted it, and to not let it move again. Easier said than done. Oh, that is perfect. That right there is in perfect spec. I hope we can notice a difference in the ticking. One more look at the bottom. I like where that is. Well, let's go ahead and throw the covers back on. A little bit of rust on here, so I'm gonna throw some blue Loctite on. It also helps with rust and corrosion. Generally, I don't worry about torque specs with stuff like this, guys. The biggest thing is just to not over-tight stuff. A lot of people over-tight stuff and then strip out the aluminum threads. Trust me, I've been there. Usually less is more with these things. And we're done.
It is now time for some oil. This is my go-to stuff, guys. Valvoline 10W40 4-stroke, pretty much all-purpose motorcycle oil. It's been good to me. It's got a lot of good reviews. I'll go ahead and link it down below. Pick some up if you need it.
Well, we've come this far. I am gonna zip off the skid plate and check the oil filter, make sure there's no debris built up. By debris, I mean metal shavings. And we can go ahead and reinstall these side covers. Always be very careful if you're going to use an impact. Just always start your threads by hand, and that really helps minimize the chance of you cross-threading something. And I'll still most of the time come back by hand and just make sure everything's hand tight to where I'd like it. Once again, there's nothing worse than the feeling of stripped aluminum. Go ahead and put this cap back on. What do we got here? Looks like these are 12s. Yep. Put the drain plug back in before I forget. Now it is time to remove the oil filter cap, which is also gonna leak, so let's attempt to catch some of this oil. Oh, right on the money. And good thing I pulled this because it looks disgusting. Now the question is, do we have a match with a replacement? Yep. Man, it kills to have parts laying around. I love it. Get a little oil on your finger, get that seal lubricated before you stick it on. I usually don't worry about like pre-oiling inside of the filter or anything like that. It's a pit bike, guys, come on. There is a spring in here, so make sure you don't lose that in the oil cap. But make sure your O-ring is good, and then slide her back on. Make sure the longer bolt goes into this side. Let's get some lube in there. Not a drip at all. I love when that happens. So since I did do an oil filter change, I am gonna have to add a little bit more oil. So we'll start it up, run it for a bit, and then we'll check the level and go from there. Put the cap back on and we are good to go. Let's get some of these tools cleaned up and put away, and then we'll fire her up. We might have a little bit of water in our earbox too, so I'm gonna go ahead and drain that. Not much, but worth a drain. Try Should I even go as far as cleaning this out? Man, I don't know what I've become. There's actually overspray all over this bike from I don't remember what. Guys, it is finally time to get rid of these paint grips. That is disgusting. Let's rip them off there. Come on, baby. So that is what they used to look like. I'm a fan of that color, but now we got more of like a watermelon douche kind of color. Not a fan. We're going with my go-to grips, the Pro Taper Pillow Top Lights. I'll drop a link down below to these as well. Amazing grips, I run them on everything. They're a little bit softer and thinner than the regular pillow tops, and I really just love the feel that this gives. And my buddy Shanton told me about this. If you use a little bit of WD-40, it helps get it on there, and then when the WD-40 dries, it works pretty much just as good as grip glue. So, first time trying this, I usually do it without, but you know what? Since I don't have an air compressor yet, we'll give her a good try. Man, crazy how much of a difference that made to the bike. This thing is literally looking brand new. Even though it's called Stitches, because she's pretty much held together with zip ties, she still cleans up good. All right, let's give her a crank. Much quieter. I definitely didn't expect today's video to go the way it did, but it ended up becoming a full service tutorial for most little dirt bikes, the 50s, 70s, 80s, 100s, 110s, and all the way up. A lot of the trail bikes are like this. It won't work, obviously, with the shim type, like on your performance bikes and whatnot. Only other thing you might want to check is the air filter. On these bikes, they're pretty restricted, so not a lot of stuff gets into the air box, and I've never had to clean one of these things. I had it off not too long ago, and it literally looked brand new. The spark plugs I tend not to worry about unless it starts to run rough, but most of the time they're way over replaced, and it's just not necessary. As far as other wear components like fork seals, bushings, wheel bearings, and whatnot, obviously just check for play, and if something's leaking, you obviously got a problem. Thankfully, this thing does not, and I've used the crap out of it, so it's pretty impressive. I've contemplated getting rid of this thing multiple times, but I always want to have a 110 around. They're just so much fun, and it's like the perfect starter bike to teach someone on too. That's what I taught Alexis how to ride on. This is what I learned how to wheelie on pretty much. I mean, I've always wheelied and stuff growing up, but as far as control, like this was the main bike that taught me everything. But if there's anything else you'd like to see, let me know. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. It helps me out. Links to literally everything that I used in today's video will be down in the description below, so check that out if you're interested. Looking forward to ripping on Stitches this weekend, so stay tuned for that. Just getting stuff done, guys. Bike by bike. We're getting everything up to date on maintenance, fixing everything, and it definitely feels good. Really relaxing shop environment, and it just feels so good to be working out here, warm, and for the most part, pretty well organized. So thank you all for watching, and until tomorrow's video, I'll see you then.